Joining me now is Tanguy GAHOUMA BEKALE, Chair of the African Group of Negotiators on Climate Change. Great to have you with me. It is one of the most important topics because Africa is unique in that it's trying to now develop. It wants to industrialize. It is emitting the lowest out of any region in the world, and yet it is the most vulnerable. But Africa hasn't truly had a voice at the COP negotiations in the past. How are you planning to change it this time around?
What is clear is that we are not responsible of this situation. So we really need that the polluter, the big polluter, take responsibility. It's a question of responsibility. For now, in 2009 in Copenhagen, we talk a lot about the 100 billion per year as a commitment for developed countries. But from now, we didn't see the money. So this COP, it's clear, need to be a COP where we can build trust and confidence between us. So we need that this country respect this commitment, and we need to have more support to tackle climate change, because we already have a lot of disaster in Africa, and we are not responsible.
Okay, so when you say take more responsibility, are you talking about financing? The responsibility needs to come in the form of helping finance a lot of the programs that we need to see in Africa. And, you know, I even heard from some emerging market ministers saying that because emerging markets and some of the most vulnerable nations have not been responsible for the emissions, that there should also be reparations when you see disasters. In what form do you want to see it?
I think we need to have half and half. So we need that this country take action. For example, now they release all their NDC. The NDC is their commitment on mitigation on climate change. But now we see clearly that nobody respects the Paris Agreement, but we all commit to the Paris Agreement. Nobody respects the Paris Agreement. All the developed countries now will emit 10% more emission in 10 years, but they have to reduce their emission by 40% if we want to win.
They say we're not going to probably hit that target. What do you think?
Yes, but it's not possible for us because we are already hit by climate change, and it's not our responsibility. We have a lot of megalopole in Africa, which is on the coast. We have all our agricultural system, which depend of the rain, and we are really impacted by climate change.
Let's do the maths here. If Africa contributes 4% of global greenhouse gases and wants to industrialize, which means more processing plants, more economic growth, more people, driving cars, what do you think would be fair in terms of Africa reducing its greenhouse gas emissions? Is it even possible without creating a problem on the socio-economic development front?
It's impossible for Africa to reduce their emission because it's already very low. But what we can do is to have some managed emission. We need to go now from, for example, from coal, from oil to green energy, for example. This is easier for us because we have a lot of sun in Africa. You know that we have between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of the Capricorn. So we can do it with solar energy. We have hydroelectricity. So we can go into a green energy. But we need support because it's cheaper to have coal because it's here.
It's a resource that's in abundance in many African countries, and also oil and gas. So you're basically telling African nations to leapfrog,
to stop their development
and
for that.
Not industrialize in the same way that other richer nations have done so.
Yes. For example, in my country, in Gabon, we depend a lot on oil and forest.
Yeah.
And they tell us that we cannot cut anymore your forest because we need it, because we need to breathe, because of climate change. And we say, but this is actually one of the most important natural resources in the Gabon. So how we can manage these resources with responsibility, and how we can fight against climate change. And so it's really difficult for a lot of countries.
So you're going to COP26. What is your main message as a key negotiator? What do you want to see on the table? And I think we have to drive this home, that African voices haven't been heard enough in the creation of the policy that then is, sort of given a blanket approach to the whole world.
I think we have three key messages for COP26. First, we want to finalize the Paris Agreement, the rule book of the Paris Agreement. It's important that now we go into action. Negotiation is finished now, and we need to go into action. The second thing is more political. We need that all the countries, for example, the G20 countries can take the lead on mitigation, on reducing emission. This is really important that they can publish new indices on that.
Do you think Africa needs to, are you proposing that Africa still needs to increase its greenhouse gas emissions? What's the reality here?
The reality is that most of African countries are the least developed country. 33 countries in Africa are the least developed countries. So it's clear that one day they will become emergent and they will follow the natural trajectory and they will pollute more. But we can have solutions for that to limit impact of Africa in the future. And this is why we need transfer of technology, capacity building, and finance, all these things to support what Africa wants for the world.
Let's talk about the vulnerabilities. And, you know, a lot of African countries spend a large amount of money on dealing with the impact of climate change.
Yeah.
Give me a sense of what that situation is like right now and how vulnerable African countries actually are at this point in time.
African government already spent 2 to 9% of their GDP to fight against climate change. For the first time in maybe 50 years, we have five disaster events that came in Africa. This is new, really new. In Mozambique, they lost a lot of people. Yeah. They lose 1 million houses because of climate change, because of climate disaster. So we have already drought, we have floods, and all these things. This is not happened in Africa before. And the last IPCC reports said clearly that humans are responsible of climate change. There is no doubt now. So who will help us with all these problems that we have now? It's not our responsibility. It's the responsibility of others. So how we can find a win-win situation to increase our ability to fight against climate change?
Absolutely. Tanguy, thank you very much.
Thank you
for illuminating us on the importance of developmental growth and then, of course, taking the climate change agenda into consideration. I wish you luck with the negotiations.